Christ, we're going out into the city as thee commanded, and we're instructing them on the preachings you left for us. Small voices in the back of our head, we listen to it because it has direction. Then we look up in the sky. The birds may signal confirmation in the direction through numeral value. You know what? God, you've taught me not to let the world tell me how much my pain is worth. They tried to silence the lamb. Through censorship, suppression, there's people fighting to reveal the hidden realities. Often these realities appear on televisions, movies, and promotions. I used to wonder why you would bring certain channels and episodes to my attention. Christ, it says in Romans 1 and 18, human beings, apart from God, use their lack of righteousness, their sinfulness, to suppress or hold back the truth about who God is. If you want to get to God, if you want to know who God is, you better do what Paul commanded. And Paul commanded by faith, and through his death, may you believe. Just come on, let's visit the cross together. So when Christ came as a suffering servant and as a conquering king. If you hold your two fingers like this together, you'll just see the peak of my finger here. But it is so that I have two placed together. He come as a suffering servant and as a conquering king. The conquering king happened through his death, but the suffering servant is the position that he took for us. I want to explain to you God's wrath. But before encountering Christ, you will experience God's wrath. And the wrath, we caused the wrath because we rejected Christ. When we crucified Christ, we actually begin the process of a ritual in which we all live in. Involuntarily, we all live in a ritual. And the ritual is the crucifixion of the cross. Futile thinking, darkened hearts, and progression into various sins will indicate that you are facing God's wrath. Through that process in which you'll meet or come from, you'll identify that those patterns that we once lived in were unproductive, pointless, and they're empty. So, strategically and ultimately, you're asking God for a greater and grander purpose. Little do you know, He already has that for you. When Christ came as a suffering servant, He was also seen as a conquering king. When he had come as a suffering servant, it was to set up the kingdom that was ripped away from Christ Himself. The Advent was the death. We're at this time we're living in a parenthetical period of time called the dispensation of grace. And what people don't understand is that when Christ came, this is called the mountain peak prophecies. So he was teaching the practices of our kingdom that is yet to come. And he also had to die for that in which he was speaking of. And through wisdom, through faith, he told us to believe. And that if we believe, we'll meet the messenger. And when we meet the messenger, that would be the evidence and the guardianship to continue his plan forward. So this is what he had to sow into our future. He had to die so that he lived forever. And yes, allow me to say, he does live forever. Well, he's here now. As a matter of fact, Christ is everything. But we'll get into that in later topics. Okay, so who are we? We're actually the valley of the church age. So God, through God's judgment, it should be revealing our characters, vision, and action. Remember, life is against time. What cannot be bought, and once it's gone, it's gone. Christ was the conceived word of God, which means he was the physical presence of God. And he created all of everything, and everything relates back to God. That's called precision. This is an internal psychological identification. You want to remove thyself from thy ego and enter into the divine understanding state. which is the psyche wanting to expand beyond the barrier. Now, Christ taught us liberation, and he was an example of that structure. Typically, the ego is going to ring in a response for you to flee in terror or harness the experience and become transformed. Ultimately, you have to take up your cross and bear it.